to your mid-season review. There are teams that are winning, and there are teams that are losing. Circumstances driving teams up, circumstances driving teams down. We're about halfway through the full season, a little more than halfway through the regular season. 8 weeks in, 5 weeks to go. How have you been doing? How's everybody else doing? Let's talk about it. We have people vying for the playoffs. We have people vying to not lose. Let's start with the playoffs. Brennan and myself, nicely out in front. Won't say comfortably, but nicely. Then comes the log jam. 5-3 is all the rage this year. Everybody wants some. Everybody's there. 4 teams are tied for what is technically second place at 5-3. A couple different roads of getting there. So let's talk about that. Let's start with Brennan. Man, we stan Malik Neighbors. Love this guy. Love this guy in this household. Brennan got off to a hot start this year with 4 straight wins. Then, a little rougher. 2-2 in the last 4 weeks. His season has really been buoyed by all of Sean's fantastic draft picks. Sometimes you don't have to be the one that picks them if you trade for them. Good for you, Brennan. Let's see how this goes. For myself, lots of big scores. No first round pick. That's my favorite flex of the season. But I've been around the block. It's 11 years in this league. I know that the real weeks are still to come and the real work still needs to be done. I have my guys. I've had these guys on most of these guys have been on my roster in some way, shape, or form 3 or 4 out of the last 4 years, right? So I want to win with these guys. After 2 consecutive third place finishes, I'm really hoping this is my year. Pete, man, for a newcomer in the league, 2 years in a row, maybe last year wasn't a complete fluke. Pete is winning again. First game he lost to Tim, but that game told us absolutely nothing about the trajectory of those 2 teams. After that game, everything flip-flopped. Tim went down, Pete went up. Pete went on to win 5 straight after that opening loss. The 2 tight ends will never cease to amaze me. But my favorite bit, aside from all of this, is the team name changing. Please keep this up. Taylor's boyfriend this, Taylor's boyfriend that. My favorite bit of the season is seeing whatever will come that week, depending on what Travis Kelce does on the football field. The actual thing that has contributed to Pete's winning and losing, and I'm sure he knows this, is his inability to select the correct starting quarterback. Seemingly every week, he has picked the incorrect one, leading to a couple of losses and some closer victories than he would have preferred. Trevor, of course, you have Kareem Hunt. And of course, Kareem Hunt is playing well. In the year of our Lord and Savior 2024, is this the year that Patrick Mahomes really is washed? We'll see. Because of course it would be. Trevor's season has been up and down just like every season he has in this league. And he has some solid starters, but not really any sort of a bench. So his season could go anywhere. Over the next 5 weeks, Trevor could win 4 out of those, or he could win 1. I would not be surprised by either outcome. The most surprising 5-3 team, in my opinion, is Bula. Bula has a specific history in this league of success one time, and then not so much after that. Bula is a team that most of us have never really taken seriously. But this year he's making a case to be taken seriously. With a team of players that he believes in, but I don't know if anybody else really would. The Falcons players, Darnell Mooney and Bijan Robinson, being the 2 cornerstones of your team, are 2 people that I'm not sure everyone else would really be getting behind like this. as well as Jonathan Taylor on a really strange Colts team. But if you believe, then I believe in you, and I'm happy for you. It was a rocky start for Bula, but he got really hot in the middle of the season. So let's see, is this going to continue on? Is he going to streak his way into the playoffs, or is he going to cool off just like the fall New England weather? Our last but not least team in the 5-3 logjam is our friend Al. We all think of Al as consistently good at fantasy football. But what if I were to tell you that this year would mark a 5-year playoff drought for Al? Since winning the 2019 championship, Al has actually not even made the playoffs. There's a lot to like on our team. Uh, Players that I quite like. But it's a slow burning style of team. A lot of players who are more likely to be hot in the second half or the end of the season rather than the beginning, right? Some rookie receivers, some running backs, dependent on injuries. There's a lot of potential, but there's also a lot of potential for injury, and this is all centralized around anybody who plays on the Dolphins. That team, that team can't figure out how to not get a concussion. The whole team. So we'll see how that works. Al's had a funny symmetrical season so far. 3 wins, 3 losses, 2 wins. So what's next? Probably 2 losses if that's how statistics work. I don't think that's how statistics work, but I want it to be. So those are the teams all really vying for the playoffs. Let's take a quick look ahead. Are these title contenders or title pretenders? Over the next 5 weeks, we have a few pivotal matchups between all of these teams up top to see if they're really going to make that playoff push or if they're going to fall apart completely. So, week 9, we get Pete versus Brennan. The winner of this is really in the driver's seat to making the playoffs. If Brennan wins, I really think he clinches a spot. If Pete wins, I'm pretty sure that will clinch him a spot. Pete might need an extra win after that. Week 10, we got 2 big ones. We have Trevor versus Pete and Brennan playing myself. If I win the next 2 weeks, I clinch a playoff spot. I did the math. Pete is then in another big matchup with Trevor. So 2 teams at 5-3 now going up against each other. Big game. Week 11, Bula plays Brennan, and then Trevor plays myself. Could be an opportunity for me to play a bit of a spoiler to Trevor, and then Bula may have fallen apart by then. Who knows? Could be an easy game for Brennan, but you never know. Week 12 has Trevor playing Bula, and then in week 13 has Trevor playing Brennan. So, what did we just learn? We learned that Trevor has an extremely hard next 5 weeks on his schedule, and a name I never said was Al. Al actually has the easiest remaining schedule of any of the potential playoff teams, playing 0 other teams above 500. So, and Bula and Pete play 2 playoff teams to close out the regular season. Beating another playoff team in these next weeks is almost like a double win because you're going to get that win, they're going to get that loss. So you're able to jockey up and down the standings depending on how this happens. It really counts as a little bit extra. Get to 9 wins. Now that we've taken a look at the bourgeoisie, the upper class of fantasy football this season, I'd like to talk about the losers. It's actually a bit more fun, a bit more exciting down there as they scrap and they claw and they see who's going to pick up the 3rd running back on a team and have 2 injuries and like have this relevant player score 8 points for them and win them a week. It's really the heart and soul of fantasy football is not losing. The heart and soul of fantasy football is not winning the championship. It's not coming in last place. So, I would like to officially propose the new last place punishment. There's been some discussion around some standardized testing fatigue, as we will call it. And it is time for a new punishment. I've come around on that idea. I'm going to propose one I will outline it here in this video, and then I will put the bulleted specifics in with a poll for yes or no into the group. My favorite punishment would be to give someone a shovel and make them dig a fucking hole. 4 foot by 4 foot, Stanley Gilnat's hole in some field. I would sit in a lawn chair and drink Coors Light until that hole is done. And I would love it. But apparently forced manual labor is not all the rage these days. So I propose that we have the loser throw the subsequent year's draft party. The last place team organizes and puts together the party. They have to invite everybody over. They have to organize all of the dates. They have to try to get as many people as possible to this event. I believe that will actually be the most annoying part of this whole thing. As someone who's tried to organize us to do anything, yeah, good luck. You have to make a very conscious effort to try to get everybody together, right? Okay. We will be drafting during this time. So that means also Wi-Fi, power outlets, comfortable chairs, snacks. Those things are expected throughout this process. The loser will pick a location. The loser will then, it could be their home, could be the local Elks Lodge, whatever. Get us a decent location for all of this, and we'll go from there. You'll provide the food, you'll provide the drinks. Part of the proposal, though, I would like to put forward that we give $200 out of the buy-in to help cover the costs of this. A little bit of easing that anxiety of like, oh my God, I have to plan everything and I'm going to lose money. We'll give you $200 towards this. Reimbursed at the time of the party. So you can't have any funny business taking our money ahead of time or anything, right? I know Sean, the Bank of Sean will take care of this. That still does leave the winner with a nice $1,000. So still nice win. That's what I would like to see happen. Then the party planner and I can collaborate on what we would want to do as far as like draft selection order. You know, if we want to do something specific for that, but that's my proposal. They make the party. 2 and 6 is our other logjam. Less of a promise of completion and more of an upper rectum style constipation. Sean, Tim, TJ, and Signy have all taken different paths to get to 2 and 6. But at the end of the day, they are failing. Some by choice, some by circumstance, some by luck. Let's take a look at the lucky and unlucky statistical graphic that I've created. I'll throw it up on the screen somewhere. And then I want to talk through how a couple of these teams got here. Tim lost his first round draft pick very quickly. The rest of the team seems solid, but it just has all fallen apart from him very quickly. Sean is making a conscious decision to not try to win this season. All Sean is doing is trying not to lose. He's doing an okay job, but he's also helping every other team win, which is pretty fun. TJ Tatro, the king of RotoWire, may have over-researched himself into bad draft picks. Minuscule value in a round of 3 to 5 picks and thinking you got a sleeper in the 4th. On paper, money. In practice, it's not really working out. On the other side, we have Sailboat Signy, where it's almost becoming an episode of Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? Can't find her. Can't get her to change her lineup. Can't get her to even open this fucking app. I think she deserves to lose, but that's just one man's opinion. Looking specifically at the luck that's in the air, I feel bad for Meg. Scoring a lot of points, above league average, pretty well, and then having the most unlucky season of all. On the other side, Brennan's lucked his way into a couple of wins, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. fantasy sports is just as much about luck as it is about skill. And what really warms my heart is that a couple of these teams have so close to their expected and actual winning percentages that luck has really not been a factor. TJ Tatro, congratulations on statistically being exactly where you're expected to be. Tim and Signe are also right there, so that's pretty fun. Pete, well done. You are exactly hitting expectations.
At the dawn of civilization, the Chinese were there, and they are still here. Hello, I'm Peter Weller.
Welcome to History Time. Welcome to History Time, where you, me, and Peter Weller are going to learn about the history of our fantasy football league. So, let's start by talking about global warming. I heard something the other day in some various news outlet that said that this was the hottest Wednesday in October in the past 63 years, as if we didn't have temperature measurements 64 years ago. A cherry-picked statistic to make some sort of a point, to make someone's opinion swayed on climate change, global warming. Look, I get it. Climate change, global warming, it's real. Storms are getting worse. Maybe there was a storm in the 1500s that we're not able to measure. That was the worst storm in recorded human history. Sorry, not recorded. We didn't fucking know. So, our league was born in 2014 in the halls of the Aquinas Room. And in a week, in 2014, Alex scored 23 points. In a loss, obviously. The league was different back then. 8 high school kids were figuring out how to play fantasy football with different scoring and a different knowledge of the game. That doesn't seem like a fair comparison to what I would consider the modern history of the league. In 2019, we altered our scoring and we expanded the league to 12 teams. This should really be the contextual modern history of our league. So, these are the 3 lowest scores in modern league history, all happening in week 7s somehow, and 2 of which happening in 2019, which was a brutal week. That week this year, where Alex scored 40.9 points, is really miraculous because we have increased the number of players in the starting roster by 1. We have moved to half PPR since then. And theoretically, we've gotten better at this. So that is unbelievable. Only to be outdone by Alex in 2019, scoring 36.5 points. That week 7 in 2019 is potentially to never be matched or surpassed again. So I've uncovered a new method, a new tool to dig around the annals of our league history, and I will be pulling interesting facts, with the help of Peter Weller, of course, again in the future. This has been League History.